and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this very special solar eclipse in Capricorn transmission of light. So this is a very special day. It's a very special day indeed. I felt as the moment I stepped outside. And the energy is so intense because, as you know, in the first few days of the new year, it felt almost like 3 days of darkness, and then the resurrection back into the Phoenix, which is the energy principle we will be working a lot with this year in 2019. Because when we seal this energy of the Phoenix, it's almost like we're able to work with it at very high advanced levels of soul alchemy. But you know, we have to, from the perspective of evolution of the human soul on earth, kind of grow into that. So a Phoenix is not something you know, it's something what people call the spirit guide or an animal, but it's truly an essence. It's an archetype that our soul has the ability to operate through, and there's many levels of the Phoenix energy we can work with. So in our journey of ascension, we're all growing into the alchemical nature of our presence. So the main energy I'm reading now is the energy of dissolution. So we had a lot of disillusionment happening, and as you know, the disillusion is what actually leads to the energy of dissolution, and it's basically the two energies almost like entwined together. So today is like a very peaceful energy. I'm feeling sleepy, I'm a little hazy. I did work a lot to bring out all the content that's coming out, but it's not the only reason. It's also very energetic. So it's interesting because the first 3 days, like I said, and I explained in the New Year video series, is that it felt like 3 days of darkness and then resurrection. And now this day today feels like a, you know, like that when you're running a marathon and then you're like right at the verge of really breaking through that dark tunnel, and then there's an opening, and before you get to enjoy that opening, you just need to quiet down a bit. You need to replenish and ease up a bit, and this is how these months will feel like before we begin the new astrological year in March, at the time of the equinox. So I want to invite you to again, as I did before, to join me in this channeled emission, a transmission of love. And I will be co-creating this with my light family of Elohim, which I always feel so deeply the moment I step outside in nature, who are the holders of life in form and all spiritual principles that I am given through the words of principles of creation. So these are seals of creation, and they manifest in different realms, through different archetypes. So here on earth we get to experience different archetypes as well. So the more illumined our physical form becomes, the more we have access to what we can call the Elohim consciousness. And the entire year I have been talking about this. I made an Illumin synthesis video course on embodying Elohim consciousness and the artistry of Illumin creation. But today I want to again move into the Lumen transmission. So there is a meditation I channeled on this day specifically, which is this day of the solar eclipse, and Spirit has given me this almost like a phrase for the energy of this Capricorn new moon. And it was something like, you know, I was sitting on a bench and meditating that this new moon solar eclipse in Capricorn has the ability to transform the human form as never before. So there is this dissolution of energy that no longer is a part of our alchemical formula, and it's a part of our physical makeup that, you know, those structures that just simply still remain there and have absolutely no more purpose in our physical makeup. It's not just our thoughts, it's not just the ideas of the self, our daily tasks, routines, whatever, but it's the actual physical makeup that has served as a layer, and now this layer has become an excess energy. Now this energy of dissolution is what invites us into this greater form of surrendering, the deepening of trust. And the more we trust this alchemical equation of life, the more we see that it's all a language of light, it's all alchemy, and we start to work with these principles that are, you know, coming from the realms of unseen and more becoming something manifest. If you've been noticing recently, a lot of people have been writing to me, noticing these, what people call orbs, you know, in my videos. They look like flying feathers, and they start to circle around me. They just pop up, start to circle, and it looks like something like a feather would be falling and moving through the sky. And you can say, well, it's the reflection of light, but this occurs both in the videos when there's daylight present and in the videos when there's nighttime. And it's interesting, but I've been asking my team of light, and I said, you know, and maybe it's nothing. And they said, you know, this now has become manifest as liquid light because people need to trust more the manifestation of that life in light infused physical human life form, to trust illumination more, instead of just, you know, when someone makes videos like I do, people can take them word per word and again take them just as information. But this was a literal coming through that liquid light, showing that there's so much more to this ascension. And so when people see these things, you know, they can each make up their own mind, but people who feel and tune into with their hearts will begin to now see more and more these manifestations of illumination in our daily presence. So whenever you see phenomena, now it's a lot of videos on YouTube being shared on different cloud formations, different manifestations of light, and yes, some of them are simply what comes out of this, what's happening with the increased frequency and the component of certain light, you know, how it manifests. The laws of manifestation are changing on a planet because there's a higher increase of different energy makeups or energy patterns that are coming into the planet through cosmic rays and their activity. So there's different phenomena that weren't present before. So we have to be discerning what are these natural phenomena as a part of these changes, and what are some of the phenomena that are more a part of, you know, what people call the Project Blue Beam, false holograms being created. What are truly, you know, light ships? What are ET ships? What's the craft? What's the human craft? What's just anomalies? And the thing is, we were never as invited to go into the heart as we are now. So the more of these layers we begin to dissolve, the clearer our vision will be. So when you see something, the heart will instantly connect with the vibration of that. And instead of trusting your physical eyes, you will know, you will feel in your heart whether something is something that your mind made up to be, and it becomes a story and something you continuously drag on because you want to over glamorize this ascension experience, or whether it's something that's really real. It's almost, it feels like it's tangible, and yet it's so ethereal. So it's both. So they're telling me that people need to begin to trust the manifestation of that liquid light. So the more I myself did the work on illuminating myself through my lumen light body, the more now these manifestations can become real through me. So that's why now this started to occur through my videos. But it's also, I believe, not everyone would notice, because someone who's not paying attention or looking, you know, someone who, let's say you play a video and then you go do random chores and you're not even seeing, you're not looking. So you're just taking it as an information and you're feeding yourself that information. But it really depends what kind of presence you're engaging with, whatever you are absorbing into your being, and whether you're fully absorbing something at the essence level or you're just feeding information into yourself. So that was the focus of the overall message that was coming through in the last few months, that it's now time to be informed through being absorbed in our form, to be informed. So now I want to create this beautiful offering. And I would begin by invoking my Illumin team of light. We're always one. And what I did now is I created this synthesis of Ascension. It's an hour-and-a-half long, what I call mini video course, and it's available for my advanced Patreon supporters. And I believe what will also come one day soon will be to accompany that teaching a part of the accessing of your Akashic realms, so that, you know, in this journey of ascension, it is important that you know how to read your own records and not put that trust into someone else, because they can be reading from the false hologram, which is very predictable. It has patterns that it's almost like what you inscribe into a computer, and it has a very predictable paradigm. or a complex, right? It's kind of like numerical. Well, the true records are very organic, and they're accessible to you because it's your soul that has been doing this journey. So it's very important, and I might do that as well as an additional guidance. So today in this session, I want to inform you that there is also a 2019 channeled spirit message on my Patreon now that will be available. It's all coming. It's like I create a lot of content, and it's going to be put there simultaneously all at once I gather it all together and edit. Then the meditation for 2019 to assist you, because a lot of us have been walking through this tunnel of dark with the tunnel vision, and now how it feels, and to invite the light once again after exploring the realms of density and this sense of obstruction and being limited and hindered in so many ways, which is a part of what the soul had to fully infuse with and imprint upon. It's like you gather all of it. It's like you absorb it in your being, and then you kind of like erupt out like a volcano again, and you move into the next octave of life presence. This is how this time feels now. So this Capricorn is a very strong spiritual energy of initiation already, because it's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is the initiation planet, and our sun was with Saturn at the beginning of New Year, which is how we always receive our new initiatives every beginning in January. But there's also many other alignments that are really clearly indicating for us that this is a big time. This time is huge, and I know a lot of people are probably talking about this, and yet it's the most subtle changes always that actually have the biggest manifestations in the physical realm. So sometimes you have big events happening, but they won't be so prominent in the long term, in the long run. However, those of you who've been diligently focused on creating subtle changes that kept on feeding your new illumined body template, you're going to notice change almost like an eruption that's sudden, but it's actually not sudden, because it's a co-creation on so many levels that you've been fueling your life force for quite a long time. So in this mini course that's available on Patreon, I teach about this. What does the synthesis of Ascension require? How do you know you're in this path? What's important to read your records, to work with soul agreements, to create an entire overall or an overview of this understanding, to create this journey of synthesis and completion, and to generate yourself this push that's required through a life force. It's almost like this push of the inner light quotient cultivation that now you require to create this new spin-off. It's a new spiral of life, which was, and it came through in my solstice message, which is also available there and on my download page. For you who really want to work with these energies that are now available, their potentials, but you either work with them or not. It's not just happening randomly. It's not how this works. I know sometimes people believe just because they will listen to channel messages or do certain meditations, things will happen for them. But sometimes this has a downfall to it as well, because when you follow something, you're actually following that and not necessarily experiencing your own integration. So even with what I share, it's not just about following what I share. You have to find your own space, create your own sacred space, and do the work of application and integration. So in that course, the synthesis is created, and then there is a meditation. And in that course, I wrap up things with the invocation for the Illumined Light Council to work together as a team. So here I will do a shortening, and then we will just do a silent transmission. This will not be a light activation when I give words. This will be a higher level when I will move into the energy space of being fully absorbed by these frequencies and then transmitting them, because even for this year I was shown a complete opening of the heart that's illumined, and the heart just sends out these frequencies. Like, it's not beaming with light, it's not like a narrow focused bandwidth. It's like each of these seeds now that has grown into its full potential is created its own spin-off, and it spins out of the heart, cosmic heart vortex. So when I now will step into this space, I'll create an offering for all of you who feel ready and called to invite this presence of dissolution into your physical form, and to have that experience of simply unwinding from all that is now not a necessary experience, and it feels more of a burden than anything else. And then allow yourself to be in this passageway of time, to maybe be totally blank, because to become a blank slate piece of paper is now the most important thing. Because usually we think, oh, to get to advanced levels, I need to get more and more and more. However, people forget about these intermediate stages, which are so crucially important. Okay, so let us begin. Are you ready? If not, pause the video. So now we call the Illumined Council of Light, the Great, the One, the Shining Ones, to work together with us in this transmission of light, to move through spiraling forms of consciousness that feed life through the breath of creation that is purely based on life force and spiritual emanation of pure presence. So through the invocation of that purity, we're simply aligning with the core of the being that is us, purely authentic, claimed by Spirit fully, open, surrendered, and free. And may we feel this as a spiral of golden white light that is now wrapping us fully in its presence. And what reaches our entire body, and it illuminates our entire energetic makeup and our physical body sustenance. It then also feels like it begins to move out of our heart center in what we can feel as tiny cosmic spirals that all know their source. And when they know their source, they're moving with the narrative of source. They're moving where it's their rightful place to be moved. And in that space, there's the allowance for the Spirit to transfigure us into what needs to become of us next without any sense of control. And let us begin with the transmission of light. And now we will just wrap up with a short spirit message. Simply allow yourself to become liquid. You are like a floating river that runs through the course of life, running through your veins. You don't have to know your destination to flow along with great motivation that is in the very essence of each living crystal within you. And allow yourself to feel the disentanglement from anything that would keep you in the vibrational space that does not allow you to move on with this transition. This is a time of transition. No transition is ever easy, never has been. So the more you resist that transition, the more you will create for yourself to be tangled with and into. And the less you resist, the more you will float along and allow yourself to be claimed by the life force of spirit. For there is nothing, absolutely nothing to be lost when your life is claimed by spirit. That is an illusion. The only thing that can be lost is a false perception and deception of who you believe yourself to be. All the roles you have been playing, you have been ascribing to yourself, and you have been participating with through either self-entitlement, self-affirmation, and a need for confirmation, or a need to have a reason given to you from the external world so that you can be here and unfold your purpose. The moment you realize your purpose is a grand spiral that is intertwined with so many other spirals of life, you feel that all of these spirals are naturally being taken care of and taken into, almost like they're being sung through the chorus of the great creation. And each song will always become self-fulfilled and sung through grace, instead of being pushed into the artificial construct of itself. There is no more need for that. And the difficult part of what you call physical ascension, what you experience in physicality as the ascension of your form, can now also be surrendered to some extent, because these past experiences, they have been intense, but they do not need to shape who you are now. They do not need to follow you into the new. And in truth, you have to let them dissolve. You have to set them aside so you can step into and exit in the other side of the tunnel of light. There is an absolutely safe passageway here that is offered, and there is constant stream of divine intelligence and support, and this journey does not need to be intellectualized or conceptualized any longer. When the knowledge of ascension becomes truth, it is self-obvious and evident, and everything else simply also begins to dissolve. All the ways of getting to this point also can be surrendered into the light of truth, the light of that absolute absorption back into your inner core of illumination. To know illumination at the heart of creation is to know your true purpose as it was designed. It was intentionally designed this way. That means you don't have to invent it anew, for it already is a perfection unto itself. All you have to do is allow your uniqueness to shine through that core of illumination, for this is the year of heart illumination. Perhaps there will be forms of struggle, as they are and continue to be experienced on this planet. However, you do not have to associate yourself with that any longer. When you feel that you have stepped onto this road less traveled, find the path, the trajectory of light, which brings you the feeling of most peaceful reassurance of your truth that is authentic, instead of seeking to find ways of expressing yourself that you believe they are necessary or expected of you. In the knowing, you will find your peace, your resolution, and the synthesis for your ascension. And it is as simple as that, and it can be, and it is. And it is to be so, and so it is.